In this video, we'll discuss about the structure of thoracic and lumbar vertebrae. First of all, so let us start with the structure of a thoracic vertebra. In this thoracic vertebra, first of all, we have a body which is common to our lumbar vertebra too. Both have a body. As you can see, this part is the body of a vertebra. Here, this is the body. And this is the vertebral foramen, which too is common to both. Then there is a spine. Here you can see the spine too. Then this is the facet for tubercle of rib. And here this is known as the transverse process, right? This is the transverse process over here. Now, thoracic vertebrae, they are identified by the presence of costal facets. This is the costal facet on the sides of the vertebral body. Why? Because ribs are attached to them, which may also be two or only one on each side. Total number of thoracic vertebrae are 12. Second to 8th thoracic vertebrae are typical, while 6th, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th are atypical. That is, they are different from the typical vertebrae. Lumbar vertebrae are 5 in number. Out of them, first 4 are typical and 5th is atypical. Lumbar vertebrae are identified by their large size and absence of costal facets. Costal facets are not there. And absence of foramen in transverse process. This foramen is present only in cervical vertebra. Total vertebrae in vertebral column are 26, cervical 7, thoracic 12, lumbar 5, sacrum is 1 which is fused and coccyx is also 1 which is fused. Coccyx is made up of 4 bones and sacrum is made up of 5. This is the structure of sternum. This upper part is known as manubrium and the lower is the body of the sternum. This is the notch for costal cartilage. These are the notches for costal cartilage too, and this is the clavicular notch where the clavicle will attach like this. Now, how many are the total number of ribs in our body? They are 12 pairs, and the ribs are attached dorsally to the vertebral column and ventrally obviously to the sternum. Dorsal end has 2 articulation surfaces. Each rib has 2 articulation surfaces on the dorsal end, and ventrally to the sternum they will be attached. First 7 ribs, they are known as true ribs. 8th, 9th and 10th join the 7th rib. They will not attach directly to the sternum, but they will join the 7th rib. And 11th and 12th ribs, they are not joined ventrally to the sternum. Hence, they are known as floating ribs. This is the diagram showing the rib cage. This is the facet for clavicle in the upper part of sternum. First rib, second rib, like this. These are the costal cartilages. The rib is attached to the sternum by means of costal cartilages. These all are costal cartilages. This is the xiphoid process, which is a part of the sternum. The 7th, 8th, this is 7th rib, this is 8th rib, this is 9th and 10th rib, and 11th and 12th ribs, they are floating. This is 12th thoracic vertebra. So you can see the extent of the rib cage is up to this thoracic vertebra. This part is known as prosternum. This is first thoracic vertebra, and this is known as the body of the sternum. Coming to the structure of the hip bone. This is the male pelvis and this is the female pelvis. Hip bone is made up of 3 bones, that is ilium, ischium and pubis. This part is known as a sacral promontory, and this part is known as ala of the sacrum. This part is known as the pelvic inlet. This is the coccyx. These bony structures are known as ischial spine. This is the subpubic angle or the pubic arch. The difference between male and female pelvises are shown here. The male pelvis is heart-shaped pelvic inlet, while the female pelvis has transversely oval pelvic inlet, and the smaller and deeper pelvic cavity is found in male pelvis, while the female pelvis has a roomier and shorter pelvic cavity. The sacrum is long and narrow in males, while the sacrum is short and wide in females, and in male pelvis, small pelvic outlet with ischial tuberosities turned inside. Ischial tuberosities are found here. They are turned inside. If they are turned inside, so the outlet will be further smaller. While in female pelvis, the pelvis is big with everted ischial tuberosities. Ischial tuberosities are everted and the pelvis is big. Outlet is big. The body of S1 is equal to 1 ala. This is the ala of sacrum, and here the body of S1 is more than 1 ala. This is also one of the difference between male and female pelvis. The body of S1 is equal to 1 ala and body of S1 is more than 1 ala. Coming to the joints of upper limb, I have enumerated some important joints of upper limb over here. First, we talk about sternoclavicular joint. This is the picture showing the sternum here and the clavicle here. This is the rib. This is the rib. And this part is known as the sternoclavicular joint. The articular surface is medial end of the clavicular notch of manubrium sterni, and upper surface of the first costal cartilage. It's very clear over here in the diagram. Medial end of clavicle, this is the medial end of clavicle. Then the clavicular notch, this is the clavicular notch of manubrium sterni, and the upper surface of the first costal cartilage. This is the upper surface of the first costal cartilage, and the type is synovial joint. Coming to the shoulder joint, the articular surfaces are the glenoid cavity of scapula. This is the glenoid fossa of scapula or the glenoid cavity, and the head of the humerus. Here we have the head of the humerus. So it is also known as glomerulohumeral joint because of this part. Synovial joint of ball and socket variety. This is the acromion process of scapula. Hence, is also known as acromioclavicular joint. This is the clavicle. This bone is the clavicle. This is the acromion process of this bone is scapula, and this is the acromion process. And head of the humerus. This is the diagram showing the shoulder joint. Coming to the elbow joint, in elbow joint, the articular surfaces are capitulum and trochlea of humerus, upper surface of head of radius, and trochlear notch of ulna. Let us see these things in the diagram. This bone is humerus, and this part is known as capitulum of humerus. This part is known as trochlea of humerus. These two form the upper part of the joint. Then upper surface of the head of the radius. This is the head of the radius. So upper surface will form the articular surface too. Then the trochlear notch of ulna. This bone is ulna, and here the trochlear notch of ulna. So these are the articular surfaces. Then the variety of this joint is hinge variety of synovial joint. Coming to the radioulnar joint, the articular surface is superior is the circumference of the head of the radius, and also fibrous ring of filament. And the inferior head of ulna and ulnar notch of radius. This is head of ulna and the ulnar notch of radius. This is the superior radioulnar joint. This is the inferior radioulnar joint, and this is the interosseous membrane in between these two bones. The type is the pivot type of synovial joint. Both upper and lower are pivot type of synovial joints. Coming to the joints of the lower limb, first of all we talk about the hip joint, and the articular surfaces are head of the femur and acetabulum of hip bone. This is the acetabulum of the hip bone, acetabular fossa. This whole is the part of a hip bone. This is head, and this is the neck of femur. This is femur. And these are the two bones forming the articular surfaces of the hip joint, and the variety of this joint is ball and socket variety of synovial joint. Coming to the knee joint, the articular surfaces are condyles of femur. These are the condyles of femur, and the patella. This is the patella, and the condyles of tibia. This is the condyles of tibia. The variety of this joint is condylar synovial joint. Two condylar joints between condyles of femur and tibia. Femur and tibia have the two condyles, and one saddle joint between femur and patella. Between femur and patella there is saddle joint. So diagram is also very clear, showing the femur over here, the tibia, there will be tibial condyles. This protubrated part is known as tibial tuberosity. This bone is patella, and the femoral condyles will articulate with the condyles of tibia, and the patella will also take part in the joint. These are the ligaments known as cruciate ligament, and there is a capsular ligament too. Coming to the ankle joint articular surfaces are upper articular surface is formed by lower end of tibia. This is the lower end of tibia. This bone is tibia, including medial malleolus. This part is known as medial malleolus. If we have a look at our own foot, our foot is like this, as you all very well know. So here we have a protuberance, and here too we have a protuberance. The site of protuberance towards the greater toe is known as medial malleolus, and towards the little toe is known as lateral malleolus. This lateral malleolus is formed by fibula, and this medial malleolus is formed by the tibia. I hope you very well understand by drawing it this way. So, the upper articular surface I have told you, lower end of tibia, including the medial malleolus and the lateral malleolus. Both these are forming the upper articular surface, and the inferior transverse tibiofibular ligament. The tibiofibular ligament will also take part in the joint. This is the ligament. The inferior articular surface is mainly formed by this bone known as talus, which is a tarsal bone, by the articular areas on upper, medial and lateral aspects of talus. The bone is just one, and lateral, medial and upper aspects of the talus bone will constitute the inferior articular surface of the ankle joint. So this was all about the joints. Thank you for watching the video.